Hello everyone, in this video we will learn in depth about the types of contracts in project management. But first of all, let us understand what is a contract. A contract is an agreement between two parties that creates an obligation to perform or not perform a particular duty. So if two parties agree to perform certain things or certain job or supply a specific material, then they are entering into a contract. But are all agreements contracts? No. When one party makes an offer to another party and the other party accepts that offer, it becomes an agreement. But only when an agreement between two parties is enforceable by law, only then it is a contract. Suppose two parties are making an agreement on selling or buying some illegal goods, which is not enforceable by law, then it is not a contract. In general, you may listen contract types like EPC, design build, item rates, etc. in the construction industry. But in the contract terminology, there are specific types of contracts that are globally acclaimed, like fixed price contract, cost reimbursable contract, time and materials contract, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract, unit price contract, public-private partnerships contract. Out of these, the first four categories are as per the PMBOK guide, the 7th edition, and these two additional categories are used in construction industry, is very common in the industry. Now let us delve into deeper for each of the contract types. The first is fixed price contract. A fixed price contract is a type of agreement where the seller or the contractor agrees to provide materials or services for a set price that is not subject to change regardless of the cost incurred or the time taken. This type of a contract is often used when the scope of the contract is clearly defined and both the parties can agree on a price upfront. Imagine you want to have a new fence built around your garden. You contact a fence contractor to do the job. After discussing your requirements, the contractor agrees to build the fence for, say, $5,000. This price includes all materials, labor, and any other cost. You have agreed with the contractor on the scope of the work, the type of the fence, the length, height, and the materials to be used, etc. And the price is fixed. The contractor agrees to do the job for $5,000. No changes regardless of how much the material actually cost during the execution of the job. You only pay $5,000 for the entire work is done. The benefits are the budget is certain. You know exactly how much you will pay as a client, which helps you with budgeting. The risk is on the contractor. If the project cost is more than expected, the contractor absorbs the extra cost with no cost increase to the client. Let's say halfway through building the fence, the price of the wood suddenly increases. The contractor still must complete the fence for $5,000 only, and he will not get the variation price, the increased price of the materials. On the other hand, if the contractor finishes the job more quickly and cheaper than expected, then still he gets paid $5,000, potentially increasing their profit. So the summary is, in the fixed price contract, the price is set at the beginning, the contractor bears the risk of cost overruns, and the buyer has certainty about the total cost. The EPC contracts, design build projects, lump sum turnkey works are the various kind of fixed price contract that are in use in the industry. The second type is the cost reimbursable contract. A cost reimbursable contract is a type of agreement where the contractor is paid for all incurred costs associated with the project plus an additional fee or percentage for their profit. These contracts are typically used when the scope of work is uncertain or when it's difficult to estimate the cost accurately upfront. The types of the cost reimbursable contracts are the cost plus fixed fee, cost plus incentive fee, and cost plus award fee contracts. In this kind of a contracts, the contractor is paid the cost plus the fixed fee for the first case, a certain incentive percentage based in the second case, and the cost plus a certain award fee in the third case. The key points in a cost reimbursable contract is the flexibility, which allows for the adjustment and handling of unforeseen issues without renegotiating the contract. The detailed record keeping is required in this kind of a contract to document all the costs for reimbursement. The risk is more for the owner as compared to the fixed price contract, but gains flexibility to address project uncertainties. The positive side of this kind of a contract is the flexibility to handle scope changes and unforeseen conditions. It encourages collaboration between the owner and the contractor to solve the problems as they arise. And the negative sides is the less predictable costs compared to the fixed price contracts. It also requires extensive monitoring and auditing of the costs. The third type is the time and materials contract. A time and materials contract is a type of construction contract where the contractor is paid for the actual time spent on the project and the materials that has been actually used. The example of such a contract is like a company wants to remodel its existing office space but is unsure about the extent of renovations that are needed. They decide to use a time and materials contract to provide the flexibility to adapt as they uncover the existing conditions. In this contract, the contractor will be paid the actual labor engaged on an hourly basis or daily basis rate. For materials, they will receive the payment based on the market price plus markup value. There is generally no incentive on the basis of the performance in this contract. The best part is with right supervision, the client gets the value for money as there is no hidden cost. They are paying actually for the labor as well as the material. Usually cheaper than other forms of the contracts. And also it is flexible since the scope is not defined. The negative sides being the less predictability of the total cost. With improper supervision, the cost may be higher for the client and the risk is on the client. The fourth type is the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity or IDIQ type of contract. This type of a contract is executed when the exact quantity and timing of the deliveries are not known at the time of the contract award. It allows for flexibility in ordering supplies or services on an as-needed basis over a specified period. A very common example of this type of a contract are the maintenance contracts of any project after the completion of the construction. In a maintenance contract, the contractor is required to assess the materials and the labor required to do the specific type of maintenance work for a specific duration. If during the maintenance period, any feature or additional material comes in scope in excess of the contract agreement, the contractor can claim the same from the client. The best part is the adaptability to changing needs and unforeseen maintenance issues, simplifies the procurement process by establishing a single contract for a wide range of services, ensures availability of the contractor services over a long period. The negative sides being it requires diligent tracking and management of task orders and expenditures. The potential for cost uncertainty due to the indefinite nature of the quantities and schedules. It may require oversight to ensure the efficient and effective use of services. Next is the unit price contract. This is a contract where the project is divided into units and the contractor is paid per unit completed. The total cost of the project is therefore determined by multiplying the unit prices by the actual quantities of the work performed. This is the most common type of contract in construction industry. This type of contracts are also known as item rate contracts. The advantages are the flexibility in the scope, detailed cost breakdown is available, accurate payment for the exact amount of work done is possible. So the risk of the overpricing is reduced in this case. The disadvantages being the uncertainty of the total cost because it can vary with the variation in the quantity. The measurement is quite complex in this type of a contract. There is a potential for disputes because the entire scope is not specifically defined at the start of the project. The sixth type is the public-private partnerships or PPP model contracts. These contracts are typically used for the large-scale infrastructure projects. In this type of a contract, a private entity is given the responsibility to finance, design, construct and operate a facility for a certain period before transferring the ownership of the project back to the public sector. For example, the projects of road or bridges where the private entity constructs the project, then operates it and earns their profit from that, and then transfer the ownership back to the public sector. In financing, the private entity usually arranges the financing for the project. The private entity is responsible for the construction as well. And after construction, the private entity operates the facility and generates the revenue from its operation. After the agreed period, the facility is transferred back to the public sector without any additional cost. The common types of PPP model contracts are BOT, that means build, operate, transfer, where the private entity designs, finances, builds and operates the project for a prescribed period before transferring it to the public sector. BOOT, build, own, operate, transfer, similar to BOT, but the private entity here owns the facility during the concession period. And HAM or hybrid annuity model, a combination of the EPC and BOT where the government and private entity shares the project cost and risk. The government pays the private entity in installments during the construction and then in annuity during the operation. Got a question on this topic? Please ask in the comments and we will revert to it. If you have liked this video, please share it with the people who also may like it. And if you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.